Good Saturday morning, everybody. Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to this week's episode of What Every Cruiser Wants. I have new cruise comments for you this week. We have comments that, honestly, they would probably be legitimate questions, legitimate comments, if the people could just drop the attitude, just drop the rudeness, and just ask a nice, polite question. That's all it would take, but nope. They can't do this. They gotta throw in that rudeness. And we have a continuation from last week's show. Comment we did last week is still ongoing, and I have an example to go along with what I said last week. So let's jump in to this week's show. All right, so we're gonna talk about a comment from a previous show here up first, get this one out of the way. We had a comment about military appreciation events and how other professions were not included in there. Now, that comment was specifically about, firefighters, police officers, paramedics. But I said at the time, where do you draw the line? Because while every job is important, somewhere you have to draw that line. Otherwise, your whole ship, your whole cruise, your whole vacation will be trying to mention somebody. Now, the original comment, of course, was written into John Heald, Carnival Cruise Line's brand ambassador, and he responded. And he said, it's about the military, it's about military appreciation. That is what Carnival does. And he used the word heroes in his statement talking about the military. Now, me personally, I think the word hero gets used entirely too much in entirely the wrong circumstances, but that's only my opinion, so we're not going to get into that. He mentioned a few other professions. He talked about the firefighters and the paramedics, police officers. He talked about nurses. He talked about teachers. But of course, that means that there was a lot of jobs that got left out. And of course, because he didn't include everybody, somebody has to get upset. Nurses and teachers are heroes, according to you, John, but truck drivers are not. So many of the Americans' truck drivers cruise on your ships. Their families have to say goodbye to them for days or even weeks at a time. Us trucker drivers are literally everyone's lifeline. Without me and other truckers, this country would have been totally stuffed during the COVID pandemic. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly why I say you just have to draw the line. You can't include everybody. Not saying truckers aren't important, but see, if you don't mention them, they get offended and they get upset. And all because somebody talking about cruising and what they celebrate on cruising didn't specifically come out and say, this specific job, you're a hero, creates this type of comment. All right, so let's jump into our actual comments for this week. And we got to get into this rudeness thing. We got to get into this, why do you ask a question? And why do you have a comment? Something you'd like to see different. But instead of just asking it and being polite and saying, hey, cruise line, suggestion, how come you guys don't do this? Is there a reason you don't do this? No. Instead, you have to be rude. You have to throw in some nasty. Or as my grandma used to say, you got to show your, we'll say backside for the show, but you know what I mean. Whenever you act it up, I always heard that word. Why you got to show your, you know what I mean? And to me, that's what these comments do over something that could be done so much more politely. In years past, I have been on cruises that stayed overnight in Key West and in Rome. I wonder why Carnival never offers their passengers this option. I am guessing that it's just pure greed. I am guessing it is so passengers spend money in the bars and casinos. This, if true, is bad business. So could be a very polite comment, it's like, hey, Carnival Cruise Lines, you guys used to do overnight stays. I'm not seeing them anymore. Is that something you guys will do again? Is that something you guys are considering doing again? Just kind of curious. Could be very polite. Doesn't have to be rude and nasty. You don't have to say it's because it's pure greed. You don't have to say it so you can suck more money from our wallets. Now, the answer to this, according to Carnival Cruise Lines, is that from when they did do overnight stays in cruise ports, the majority of the cruise passengers, they said it was like over 90+% of the cruise passengers were back on the ship fairly early in the evening consistently. So according to Carnival, based on cruisers' patterns and the way cruisers were cruising, they weren't staying out overnight in the cruise ports anyway, so they kind of stopped doing them. But we'll throw this out to you guys. What do you guys think? Would you like cruise lines to do more overnight stays? Would you stay off of the ship later and overnight in these cruise ports if it was an option? Or do you like the way cruising is going on right now? You get on in the evening, you sail overnight, you get to another port. So comment number 2, different question, but the exact same type of situation. You can have a legitimate question and you don't have to be rude, but no. This person's got to throw in the rudeness, the nastiness, and the ugliness in some attempt to get a point across. I just don't understand why, it won't sink into folks' heads, that if you were nice and you were polite, you get a much better response, a much better reaction, a much better outcome. Because believe me, if you go up to anybody on these cruise ships, cruise lines, on the phone, whatever the case may be, and you're just rude and nasty, they are not going to go out of their way to help you. You'd think people would learn, but this comment says that they still don't understand. Question: why can't Carnival cook up a decent vegan burger? Asking this of someone who has obviously no personal respect for how they look and what they eat is going to be ineffectual. But it comes from a group of 3,000 Carnival customers, all of which live a plant-based lifestyle. You showed off the new menu, but there was no sign of an improved vegan burger. I had one on the Radiance, and it was gross. Carnival needs to send its people to Monty's Good Burger in Colorville City. How can Carnival endorse Guy Fieri and then not serve up a vegan burger? Why? You serve up an artery-clogging burger, but a healthy, plant-based alternative is a no. Big fail, Carnival. See what I mean? Could be a very legitimate question that, hey, is there an opportunity to improve this vegan burger? Can we get a better vegan burger option? The one you guys have does not taste very good. That could be a very simple comment to let Carnival know that, hey, this is something we should take a look at. That would be super easy and that'd be super simple, right? But no. First, you have to throw some insults out there. And to say, obviously, you have no respect for how you look and what you eat because you don't eat this vegan burger. Yep, that's going to get you, further. Someone writes something into me, if I was working in a position where I had to read this kind of stuff, and I got to that point right there, guess what? You're done. You're over. You're hitting in the trash. Okay, you will get no further assistance. But let me throw this one out to you guys again. Do you think Carnival needs a good vegan burger? Do you think their current vegan options are just not up to snuff? Or are you like a whole bunch of cruisers out there and you just can't wait to get in line at Guy Fieri's and eat that burger on your next cruise? And finally, comedians on board the cruise ships. Now, we've seen comments in the past where people want the R-rated comedy shows to just go away because they're not funny and they're not family friendly and they don't like them and they get offended and whatever else the case may be. So they think all of the R-rated shows should go away because Carnival is the family cruise line. We've seen plenty of those before, but this time we got a comedian comment, but it's actually the opposite. They want the R-rated shows to stay, but they want the family friendly ones to go away. I agree with the OP. She is right. All of Carnival's comedians don't know how to be funny for the early show times. Based on my last 2 cruises, it is apparent that these comedians only know how to perform in the R-rated shows. Get rid of family shows. Let the comedians do only adult shows. Family shows are not funny to any normal person. Every time I read these kind of comments, week after week, they just make me laugh. So no normal person out there likes the family-friendly shows on Carnival Cruise Lines or any cruise line. They just don't like the family-friendly comedian shows. So I have a question about that, though. I've been on these cruises. I've been on Carnival cruises. I've gone to the family-friendly show, the early show. And man, if you don't get to that show ahead of time, you're not getting a seat. They fill up quickly. They're crowded. You get in there at the last minute, you're standing. And I've seen that multiple nights, multiple cruises over the years. So I'm guessing that all these people on the cruise ships they're not normal. Now, the R-rated shows are just as popular. They have just as many people in there. They're just as crowded. And they may actually be a little more crowded. But honestly, to come on here and say, look, I've been on 2 whole cruises. And you know what? They just weren't funny in the family show. So get rid of the whole show. Don't have it anymore. R-rated only because normal people don't like them. Well, I'm glad your 2 cruises has given you the perspective to say what every other cruiser wants and for you to let us know that we are cruising wrong. Thank you for that. We really, really appreciate it. But as always, let me throw it out there to you guys. Do you go to the family-friendly comedy shows and do you like them? Do you think that they should get rid of the family-friendly shows and have R-rated shows only? Or should they do exactly what they're doing right now, which is have both? That way people have options and then they can pick and choose which type of comedy is best for them. And that's going to be our show today for what every cruiser wants. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this. Do you think these people would get further if they were just nice, if they were just polite? A little please, a little thank you, a little courtesy. I think it would take them a long way. But you guys let me know about that. Let me know what you guys think about all that in the comments below. I hope everyone out there has enjoyed today's video. If you have, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. I hope everyone out there is having a really great day and a really great weekend. And like always, we will see you out on the high seas.